The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that makes your heartbeat echo in your ears. Reporters leaned forward in their seats, pens hovering over notepads, waiting. Every camera was fixed on the young attorney standing at the center of the room, John Kennedy. Across from him, sitting high on the bench, was none other than Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, her eyes steady and sharp, her expression unreadable. No one could have predicted what was about to unfold. John wasn't just any lawyer. He was the son of a factory worker and a schoolteacher from Baton Rouge, a man who had clawed his way through years of hardship to stand in that room. The case he was arguing wasn't just about legal codes or precedents, it was about the right to be heard, the right for ordinary Americans to have their voices matter as much as the powerful. As John began his argument, his voice trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what this moment meant. His words painted a picture of small-town families, struggling businesses, and people who felt invisible to the system. The courtroom listened intently, until Sotomayor suddenly interrupted. "Mr. Kennedy," she said, her tone firm but not unkind, "this is not the place for speeches. Stick to the legal question." A ripple moved through the audience. Cameras clicked. Some thought that was the end of it, that John would bow his head, shuffle his papers, and retreat into the safe, narrow lanes of legal argument. But instead, he took a deep breath and looked directly at the justice. "With all due respect, Your Honor," he said softly, "the law means nothing if the people it's supposed to protect can't feel its justice." The room froze. Even Sotomayor leaned back slightly, her expression changing from irritation to curiosity. The young attorney wasn't grandstanding, he was speaking from the heart. He began to tell the story of his father, who had lost his job when the factory closed down after years of loyal service. He talked about his mother, who had worked double shifts at the school cafeteria to make ends meet. And then he connected it all at the law, the case, the human cost of bureaucracy and neglect. "This isn't just about statutes," he continued, his voice gaining strength. "It's about people, real people, who believe in a system that too often forgets them. I'm standing here today because someone has to remind this room that justice is not a privilege, it's a promise." The silence that followed was heavy, almost sacred. Judge Sotomayor's pen stopped moving. For the first time in that session, she didn't interrupt. The justices around her exchanged quiet glances, not of disapproval, but of recognition. They saw in John something rare, not arrogance, not defiance, but truth. When he finished, the courtroom erupted, not in applause, but in a wave of emotion that words could barely contain. Journalists wrote furiously. Observers whispered that they had witnessed something unforgettable. Even Sotomayor, known for her measured composure, nodded slightly, her eyes glinting with a mix of respect and reflection. Later, as the decision was read, it became clear that John's words had left an imprint. The ruling didn't just favor his argument, it redefined the case. It gave power back to those who had been silenced for too long. And when the session ended, something extraordinary happened. Sotomayor herself approached John. "You reminded us why we sit on this bench," she said quietly. "Never stop speaking for those who can't." That moment, brief, human, and deeply moving, became the heartbeat of every headline that followed. The young lawyer who spoke truth to power, one read. A courtroom shaken by compassion, said another. As John walked down the courthouse steps, the autumn wind catching his coat, he wasn't thinking about fame or victory. He thought about his parents, about every man and woman who had ever felt unheard. He thought about how courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the choice to speak anyway. And maybe that's why his story spread like wildfire, not because it was dramatic, but because it reminded people of something simple and powerful, that justice begins when one voice dares to rise above the noise. By the end of that long day, the courtroom lights dimmed, but the echo of John Kennedy's words lingered, a reminder to every listener, every dreamer, and every ordinary person that sometimes, even in the halls of power, truth can still shake the room.